Prologue. If revenge had a scent, it'd smell like burnt pine and regret. If you've ever plotted revenge against a cheating ex and somehow ended up claimed by a wolf, welcome to my personal hell. And if you believe karma bites harder than heartbreak, go ahead and hit subscribe. Because this story, it bites back. Literally. I didn't know Mason was a wolf. I just thought my hot wilderness guide boyfriend had commitment issues, a suspicious aversion to silver jewelry, and a strange habit of vanishing during full moons. You know, standard red flags. But when I caught him camping with another woman, and by camping I mean rolling naked in the woods, I realized two things. One, I have terrible taste in men, and two, my boyfriend has a fur problem. So naturally, I did what any self-respecting woman would do. I decided to ruin his life, only my little revenge plan kind of blew up, literally, involving hunters, gunfire, and an alpha who bit me like I was a snack with a side of trouble. Now I'm hiding in a cabin full of wolves who think I'm cursed, and the alpha says I'm claimed. For protection, apparently. Yeah, right, I just wanted revenge sex, not a lifelong supernatural bond. My bad. Chapter 1. Wilderness dating and other bad life choices. My name's Lila Grayson. I'm 27, a freelance journalist, and a magnet for both disaster and men with commitment issues. I once dated a guy who forgot he was married, another who thought therapy was a scam, and one who ghosted me during our anniversary dinner because his spirit needed solitude. So when I met Mason Wild at a digital detox retreat in Montana, I thought maybe, just maybe, I'd found someone normal. He was tall, rugged, smelled like pine and rain, and looked like he could wrestle a bear for fun. He said he guided wilderness tours for tourists looking to reconnect with nature. I was just trying to reconnect with my sanity. And damn, did he make losing it look tempting. We spent days hiking, nights drinking whiskey by the fire. He called me city girl and kissed me like he was starving. I ignored all the weirdness, the way he'd flinch when someone mentioned wolves, how he never took off his leather wristband, or how his eyes sometimes gleamed gold in the firelight. I just thought it was the lighting. Spoiler, it wasn't. My best friend Callie texted me once, "If he howls during sex, run." He did, I didn't. 3 months in, I thought we were serious. He thought I was temporary, or human, which apparently made me off limits. That's what I overheard him saying one night, in the woods, to someone else. When I went to check, I found him with her, a tall blonde with claws. Literal claws. They weren't camping. They were, well, how do I put this gently? Let's just say National Geographic wouldn't air it before 10 p.m. I froze. My brain was trying to process the fact that my boyfriend had turned into a wolf mid-romp, and my mouth decided sarcasm was the only way to survive. Well, I muttered, that explains the howling. Then I turned around, went back to the cabin, packed my things, and left him a note. Next time you cheat, try doing it in human form. Sincerely, Lila. You'd think I'd stop there, take the heartbreak, move on, maybe find a therapist who takes wolf-related trauma. But no, I'm Lila Grayson, and when someone hurts me, I don't cry. I research. So I did what I do best, dug up dirt. I found old photos of Mason and his team out in the woods, all of them shirtless, all of them avoiding cameras like vampires at brunch. I found encrypted chats about territory control and hunting routes. To me, it sounded shady. To the internet, it looked criminal. So I posted them anonymously on a hunter forum, labeling him as part of an illegal poaching ring. And I may have, sent a fake tip to wildlife enforcement about his cabin being a trafficking hub for rare pelts. Petty? Maybe. But satisfying? Absolutely. Until I realized the wolves I exposed weren't just metaphorical, and the people I'd alerted, they weren't rangers. They were hunters, like silver bullets and traps kind of hunters. 2 days later, the forest went silent. No birds, no wind, just headlights slicing through fog. I remember opening the cabin door and seeing black SUVs parked along the ridge. Men in tactical gear, rifles. And me standing there in my pajamas with a cup of tea thinking, well, this escalated quickly. Then someone grabbed me. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and so intense I nearly forgot to breathe. His voice was low and rough, like gravel and thunder. "You're Lila Grayson?" "Depends who's asking," I said, gripping my mug like a weapon. He stepped closer. "I'm the alpha of the Silver Ridge Pack." My brain short-circuited. "Cool. And I'm the queen of bad decisions. We should start a club." He didn't laugh. His jaw flexed. "You just exposed us to hunters," he said. "They'll come for you next." "Wait, us?" That's when I saw his eyes, silver gray, not human. And that's when he said it. "I'm claiming your scent for protection." "Excuse me?" Before I could back away, he leaned down and bit me, right on the collarbone. It didn't hurt as much as it burned, like my soul had been tagged. I slapped him, hard. "What the hell is wrong with you?" He didn't even blink. "You want to live, human? You belong to me now, and that's how I ended up with a supernatural hickey and a death sentence. If you've ever had your revenge plan backfire this badly, leave me a comment, because I need to know I'm not the only idiot who accidentally started a supernatural war over a cheating ex. Chapter 2. The Alpha's Cabin of Hostages and Hot Tea. I woke up wrapped in a blanket that smelled like smoke, pine, and something fiercely male. There was a fire popping in a stone hearth, a kettle rattling on an iron hook, and my collarbone throbbing like I'd slept bent around a branding iron. For a terrible second I thought I'd dreamed the whole thing, the hunters, the bite, the alpha with the storm eyes. Then I tried to sit up and the room tilted. Nope, not a dream, just a new circle of hell with tasteful rustic decor. "Easy," a woman said from the corner. She wore a thick sweater, black leggings, and an expression like she'd seen every kind of disaster and filed it under Tuesday. "I'm Ray." Healer. Healer as in herbs and oils, or healer as in, "You grow extra organs on weekends?" She snorted. "Herbs, stitches, and tea. If I could grow organs, I wouldn't still be paying student loans." "Fair." Ray crossed to me, checked my pupils with a small pen light, then tugged the blanket aside to look at my collarbone. Her mouth flattened. "He bit you clean." It took? What am I, a sourdough starter?" "Claim Mark," she said, professional and brisk. "Temporary bond. Masks your scent as pack adjacent. It's protection." I remembered the alpha's mouth at my skin. A shiver went through me I refused to unpack. Protection felt a lot like assault. Ray's eyes softened. "I know how it looks. You were about to be tagged by hunters with scent darts. If they'd gotten your baseline, they could sniff you anywhere in the valley. I thought hunters chased wolves." "I'm not a wolf." "You're connected to one," she said. "Now you're connected to all of us." Great. I'd joined a murderous timeshare. I glanced around. The cabin was bigger than it looked from the outside. Log walls, a heavy table scarred by claws or knives, shelves lined with jars. There was a door on the far side, thick as a bank vault and barred from this side. From behind it came a noise I knew too well, the low, furious pacing of a trapped man. I didn't mean to ask, but it spilled out of me anyway. "Is Mason in there?" Ray didn't answer directly. "Kettle's close." "You drink tea without hissing?" "Only if it's not chamomile." I refused to be bullied into calm. She poured me something amber and sharp that smelled like pine needles and electricity. I took a cautious sip. It bit my tongue and hugged my throat on the way down. The big door creaked. It didn't open. The hairs on my arms lifted. Then it did open, just enough for a voice like gravel to roll through. "Status." Ray didn't blink. "Alive. Bit mark sealed. Fever minimal. She can walk. I can also talk," I said to the door. "And I'd like to vote no on more biting." The door swung wider, and there he was. The alpha. Taller in the doorway than seemed polite. Black t-shirt stretched across a chest that had no business existing outside of Renaissance sculpture. Gray eyes assessing me like I was a problem he'd already started solving. "Good," he said to Ray, not me. "We move when the fog lifts." Fun, I said. Where are we moving me? Witness protection? A convent? Mars? He stepped inside, the room shrinking around him. Name? Lila, Grayson. You already knew that when you... I gestured at my collarbone with the mug. Graffitied me. Something flickered in his gaze. Not quite guilt, not quite amusement. I'm Cade Thorne. Of course his name sounded like a warning sign. Cade, I repeated, because apparently my mouth wanted to taste it. Alpha of Silver Ridge. Newly minted Vandal Ray coughed into her fist to hide a smile. Cade ignored us both and set a folded topo map on the table. Red X's slashed across ridgelines and creek beds. Someone had written notes in a tight, precise hand. Scent traps here, silver mesh here, do not breach tree line alone. My stomach dropped. They're not rangers, I said softly. No, Cade said. Private outfit. Paid to catch what the government pretends doesn't exist. Because of me. He met my eyes dead on. Because of your ex and because of you. The rest is on me. I don't need your chivalry. I don't offer it, he said. Only strategy. Hunters don't have your base scent yet. With my mark, they'll read you as pack. It gives us a corridor. Corridor to what? To fix what you broke, I bristled. Mason cheated on me. I made a petty post. I didn't order a SWAT team. Call it what you want, Cade said flatly. It brought them to our door. From the barred room came a scrape, a kick, a voice, ragged and furious. Lila! Mason. His voice used to melt me. Now it curdled something low and hot. Don't talk to him, Cade said. I set the mug down too hard. Tea sloshed over my fingers. He lied to me for months. I don't owe him silence. Cade's jaw ticked. He's unstable. He shifted in front of a human, in heat, during a hunter surge. He's a liability. Is that why he's locked up? That and because I can't kill him. Can't or won't, he considered. Shouldn't. I laughed, sharp, humorless. Wow, compassion. I could cry. Ray stepped between us, palms out. Breathing. Both of you. The bond's new. It'll drag your tempers like hooked fish. The what now? I asked. Ray looked apologetic. His bite tagged your limbic system. Until it fades, you'll feel pulls, irritation, heat. Instincts not entirely yours. Heat, I repeated. My cheeks burned. No, thanks. Return to Sender. Cade's mouth did a small, traitorous thing at the corner. Drink your tea, Lila. How about you drink decency? I shot back. From the hall came boot steps. A man in his 30s with a scar across his cheek and beta energy written in his posture stopped at the threshold. Boss, perimeter pings, 2 drones, South Ridge. Cade's focus sharpened. Shoot them down? Already fell. No signal going out, but there's chatter on the open bands. They're sweeping for anomalous signatures. His gaze slid to me. I clutched the blanket tighter. I'm an anomalous signature, I said, dry as tinder. For now, Cade agreed. He rolled the map up and handed it to the beta. Cal, route everyone to the west drainage. Ray, pack med. Lila. I'm not a backpack, I said. No, he said. You're bait. Wow, I said, really selling the romance. It's not romance, he said. It's survival. They're reading for human among wolf. We give them wolf, I lifted my chin. And how do we do that exactly? His eyes flicked to my mouth and down, briefly, to the mark he'd left. I hate that my pulse noticed. Stay in my scent, he said. Ray made a noise that definitely had opinions. Define stay, I said, suspicious. Like proximity? Or like proximity? Proximity, he said, absolutely no shame. 10 days. Why 10? Because that's how long it takes for a temporary claim to soften without reinforcement. He looked like he did math with teeth. We move you through safe zones, keep you covered, pull heat off the pack. In 10 days, hunters either give up or we break them. Then I cut you loose. How to lose a wolf in 10 days, I muttered. Cute. He stared at me, unreadable. You started a war. Help me end it. From the barred room, Lila, the clank of chains. I didn't mean, they told me, it wasn't. Save it, I said, louder than I meant to. The silence that followed throbbed. Ray handed me a small tin. Inside, a salve that smelled like crushed mint and thunderstorm. For the burn. Also, eat. She shoved a chunk of bread into my hand the size of a fist. Humans faint. It's inconvenient I took an obstinate bite. It was criminally good. Fine, I'll play decoy. But I'm setting terms. Cade arched a brow. You're not in a position. My terms, I pressed, stepping closer before my courage fizzled. The blanket slipped to my elbows. His eyes did that flicker again, and I really wished they wouldn't. No more surprise biting. I choose when you touch me. If you go full alpha growl to get your way, I will soullessly mock you in front of your entire pack. And if Mason dies in your custody, I get answers. The room held its breath. Cade's gaze didn't move from mine. Finally, agreed. My spine eased a fraction. And one more. His mouth almost smiled. Of course. When this is over, you help me ruin the people funding the hunters. The suits, the donors. You help me burn their lives down so hard they can roast marshmallows over the ashes. His eyes warmed, subtle as a stovelight. That, he said, we can do. Cal reappeared in the doorway, breath frosting in the cooler air. Movement on the river road. They're running a scent while Cade was already in motion, handing out orders like loaded weapons. Ray, Kit. Cal, take the east approach. Lila. What, do I tuck into your shirt like a baby kangaroo? Stay with me, he said. Don't break contact. He shrugged into a jacket and moved close enough that I had to tilt my head back to hold his gaze. He smelled like cedar and storm and the edge of something I shouldn't want. Fine, I said, because I'm brave but not stupid. Lead the way, Thorn. We stepped into the hall. It wasn't just one cabin, more like a compound threaded through the pines, platforms connected by covered walkways. People moved like shadows, men and women with wolf written in their bones, all eyes cutting to me, all nostrils flaring when Cade passed, my scent braided into his. I wanted to shrink. I made myself stand taller. We passed the barred door. Mason's fingers shot through a small window at the top, knuckles scraped raw, silver burn scoring his wrist where a cuff held him. Lila, please, he rasped. They'll kill me. You know I didn't. Didn't what? I said, stopping because I had to. Didn't cheat? Didn't shift? Didn't lie every day we were together? His eyes were almost human, glossy with panic. They set me up. Said if I didn't claim a wolf, they'd. The council. Cade's hand closed, warm and firm around my elbow. We don't have time. I tore my arm free. I'm not your dog. He didn't flinch. You're my responsibility. And right now, you're everyone's target. Mason swallowed. He'll use you. I laughed once. I've already been used. The difference is, this time I'm in on it. Something like pride flickered across Cade's face, then washed clean. Move. We hit the outer door. Cold slapped me clean and bright. The forest was a cathedral of dark trunks and breathless air, fog unspooling low to the ground. Somewhere distant, a drone whirred. Closer, a branch snapped. Cade stepped in behind me, a wall of heat and muscle. He didn't touch me. Didn't have to. His presence pressed along my back like a held note. My skin prickled where the mark sat, a live wire under my collarbone. Stay in my wake, he murmured, head dipping toward my ear. Breathe with me. I'm not hyperventilating, I whispered. You are, he said, calm as winter. But you're doing it beautifully. Don't flirt with me while I'm being hunted, I said, because I'm an idiot who flirts when terrified. Not flirting, he said, bracing. We moved. Down a narrow path, pine needles muffling our steps, across a rope bridge that swayed over a gorge white with churn. Wolves moved with us, people for now, but carrying a hum I felt in my bones. Halfway across, A high, metallic ping cut the air. Cal's voice crackled in a handheld. "They're casting a net." Silver dust. 2 minutes. "Run," Cade said. We ran. My lungs burned. My legs remembered every bad decision. The bridge bucked. Fog clung like wet cloth. I stumbled. Cade's hand caught the back of my jacket, hauling me steady without breaking stride. "Don't let go," I panted. "Wouldn't dare," he said. We hit the far side, and he shoved me into a cut of rock under a fallen cedar. He stepped in front of me, a shield and a black t-shirt, breath slow, eyes alive. From the ridge above, something hissed, the sound of silver dust fanning into the air. My collarbone flared hot. The mark pulsed once, twice, sinking to Cade's heartbeat. And then, something answered. Not from Cade. From me. Like a door I didn't know I had creaked open in my chest and let out a breath that wasn't human. Not a shift, not fur. Just a focus, sharp and wild, narrowing the world to scent and sound and him. Ray's words flashed back. "Instincts not entirely yours." "Oh," I said faintly. "That's new." Cade didn't turn. "What do you smell?" I almost said pine. Fog, metal. Instead I said, 3 men at 10 o'clock. One's chewing mint gum, the other's scared of heights. He went very still. "Noted." The hiss grew louder. Cal's voice cut through the static in my head. "Dust incoming." Cade reached back, found my wrist, and pressed my hand to his sternum. His skin was hot. His heart pounded steady. "Stay." "I'm not a pet," I whispered. "No," he said, and I felt the word in my palm. "You're the difference." The dust fell like glittering rain. I held my breath. My skin prickled. The mark burned, then cooled, heat rolling out from Cade through me like a tide. The silver dust hit the ground, sizzled, and went dead. From the ridge, a hunter swore. No signature. Nothing. They moved Cade's mouth, shaped something like a smile. "We did," I exhaled shakily. "Did we just trick physics?" "We overwhelmed it," he said. "My scent over yours. Pack over human, I should have felt trapped. I felt alive, which was infuriating." Boots scuffed the rocks above. A flashlight beam carved the fog. We froze as it slid across the crevice, blinked on pine bark, and moved on. 3 beats. 5. 10. Cade tilted his head, listening. Then he looked at me for real, seeing too much. "You can smell fear," he said softly. "And metal. And mint. Don't get excited," I said. "It's probably adrenaline." "Survivor's nose. Maybe," he said. Not convinced. "We need to move to the river. The net's not gone, just blind." I nodded, pulse tripping. "Lead the way, Thorn." He shifted to go, then paused, hand still holding mine against his chest. He glanced down at the contact, then up, gray eyes flicking to my mouth before he mastered them. "Don't," I warned, because the ground felt like it was moving under us and I didn't trust my knees. "Wasn't going to," he said, liar sincere. "Good," I said, liar braver. We slid out from under the cedar, stepping into the fog-thin light. A crack split the air, loud, close. Not a branch, a gun. Something slammed into Cade's shoulder. He staggered, swore, and shoved me back into the hollow as a second shot rang out and the pine above us spit splinters. "Cade!" I grabbed for him, hands slippery with blood. His. He caught my face in one hand, eyes bright and wild. "Don't run," he said, voice a command and a plea all at once. "Whatever happens, don't leave my scent." "Alpha," Cal's voice barked over the radio. "They've got silver rounds." Where pinned, Cade's mouth tipped closer to my ear, breath hot. 10 days, he said. And then he bared his teeth, not at me, and turned to meet the hunters. Chapter 3. Blood, bullets, and bad timing. The first gunshot split the air like lightning, and before I could even scream, Cade moved. Fast, impossibly fast. One moment he was beside me. The next, he was a blur of black and muscle between me and the silver flash streaking through the fog. The bullet hit his shoulder, the sound a sickening wet crack. He didn't even flinch. He just spun, eyes blazing, and growled. a sound so deep it rattled my ribs. I'd heard men yell before. This wasn't that. This was a promise that someone was about to die. The hunters were closer now, moving through the trees in a tactical line. Their voices were clipped, professional. Target moving east. No heat signature. Switch to pulse sensors. Pulse sensors? Great. Because what my night needed was sci-fi weapons on top of the supernatural trauma. I grabbed Cade's arm. You're bleeding. He looked down at the wound as if he'd forgotten it existed. Not silver core, he said, voice steady. I'll heal. You'll bleed out first. I said... His eyes flicked to me, silver gleaming even through the smoke. I'll heal. And somehow I believed him, which was inconvenient, because I really wanted to hate him. Cal, flank left, Cade barked into the comm. Ray, pull the human to cover. Excuse me, I snapped. The human has a name. Not now. He turned to move, then stopped, nostrils flaring. They're spreading silver dust again, he said. Hold your breath. I didn't even have time to argue before he grabbed me, shoved me against a tree, and covered my mouth with his hand. The dust hit the air like glittered smoke, shimmering in the moonlight, coating everything in a soft metallic frost. It burned when it touched my skin, but not as badly as before. The mark at my collarbone pulsed once, twice, cooling it. Cade's chest was pressed to my back, his breath steady against my ear. Stay still, he murmured. You move, you die. I nodded, though my brain was too busy noticing how hot he was even while we were both nearly dying. Because clearly, I make excellent life choices. The hunters passed, 3 of them, scanning the fog with strange glowing visors. One stopped, tilted his head. Got a double signature here. My heart slammed against my ribs. Please no, please. Then Cade did something insane. He pressed his nose to my neck and growled, low and possessive. The visor blinked red, then green. The hunter laughed. False positive. Just another pair of mated wolves. They moved on. And just like that, I realized something terrifying. They thought I was one of them. When their lights faded, Cade stepped back, but only barely. His hand was still at my waist, grounding me like if he let go, I'd float away. You can let go now, I whispered. I could, he said quietly, but your pulse says otherwise. You can hear my pulse? I can feel it. Well, great. Nothing like being emotionally roasted by a supernatural lie detector. He finally pulled away, rolling his injured shoulder. The blood had already started to clot. Dark red turned silver, sealing itself like molten metal. Okay, I said, trying for sarcasm and failing. That's mildly horrifying. Efficient, he countered. Come on. We followed a narrow trail downhill toward a river that glowed faintly in the moonlight. The cold air bit at my face. My breath came out in shaky clouds. The adrenaline crash hit hard, and my hands wouldn't stop trembling. Cade noticed. Of course he did. He didn't say anything, just reached out and took my wrist, pressing 2 fingers over my pulse. Focus here, he said, breathing. You sound like a yoga instructor. You sound like you're about to faint. I wanted to argue, but the truth was I was dizzy. My whole body buzzed with fear, anger, and something else I couldn't name. Something that burned where he'd bitten me, spreading like wildfire through my veins. What's happening to me? I whispered. He hesitated. The bond's sinking. It amplifies instincts. You'll feel things that aren't yours. Like what? Fear, rage heat. I swallowed hard. You mean, yes. Oh, fantastic. Love that for me. We reached a clearing by the river where a few of his people were waiting, shadows with eyes that glowed faintly when they turned. They looked human, but wrongly human. Too still, too aware. A young man with sandy hair and a scar down his neck tossed Cade a clean shirt. You're hit. It'll mend. His eyes flicked to me. That the human? The human has ears, I said. He smirked. Feisty. She might survive. Keep talking, I said sweetly. I'm sure the hunters will love your voice print. Someone actually snorted. Cade didn't. He looked half a second from throttling me and half a second from laughing. Once we were semi-safe, he crouched by the river, washed the blood from his arm, and said without looking at me, "You shouldn't have done what you did." "Oh, you mean the part where I exposed my cheating boyfriend? Sorry, next time I'll send a fruit basket." This isn't a joke. It was my life too, Cade. He lied to me, used me, and now people are dead. That shut me up, because the way he said it, quiet, certain, told me it wasn't hypothetical. "How many?" I asked softly. He didn't answer right away. "2 of mine, both barely out of training." I looked away, guilt crawling under my skin. "I didn't mean for—" "No one ever does," he said. "Intent doesn't stop bullets." I hated him for being right. I hated that my chest hurt anyway. We sat there in silence for a moment, the river whispering between us. Then he said more gently, "You can't go back." "Wasn't planning on it." My ex's idea of hospitality involves claws. "You don't understand," he said. "The hunters will track anything connected to the leak. That includes you. You're under pack protection until this ends." "Protection sounds a lot like imprisonment." He met my eyes. "Depends on whether you live through it." I wanted to tell him off, to remind him that I had a life, a job, a cat named Toast back home. But the look in his eyes, haunted and unflinching, killed the words on my tongue. Hours later, when the others moved ahead to scout, Cade and I stayed near the riverbank, hidden under a rock outcrop. He sat close enough that our shoulders brushed, heat seeping through our jackets. "You're quiet," he said finally, "trying not to panic. Or puke. Reasonable." I glanced sideways at him. "You're not half as terrifying when you're bleeding." He arched a brow. "You prefer me weak?" "I prefer you less bitey." That almost earned a smile. Almost. "Tell me something," I said after a beat. "Why help me?" "I'm the idiot who caused all this." "Because if I don't," he said simply, "you'll die. And despite your attitude, I don't like needless death." "Despite my attitude," I repeated, smirking. "So, you admit you like some of it." He looked away, but I caught the corner of his mouth twitching. When I thought he'd fallen quiet again, he spoke, low and almost thoughtful. "Mason was wrong to bring you into our world. But maybe not everything about it was a mistake." I frowned. "Meaning?" "Meaning there's something different about you." "Yeah, it's called poor judgment." "No," he said, turning to face me. "When the silver dust hit, your body didn't reject it. It adapted. Even wolves don't do that. So what, you think I'm a mutant?" "I think," he said, "you might not be entirely human." I laughed, loud, disbelieving. "Congratulations, you've officially lost it." But something about his tone, measured sincere, sent a chill up my spine. He studied me like a puzzle he couldn't quite solve. "We'll find out soon enough." That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw flashes, fangs, firelight, the hunter's silver mask. And underneath it all, I could feel Cade. Not just hear him breathing nearby, but feel him through the mark, like a heartbeat that wasn't mine pulsing faintly under my skin. It should have been terrifying. It was something else. I rolled over and whispered, mostly to myself, 10 days. How hard could it be? Somewhere in the dark, Cade's voice came back, quiet, amused, like he'd been waiting for me to ask. You'd be surprised. Chapter 4. Proximity Problems. I woke to the sound of water dripping off pine needles and the smell of something burning, wood smoke, not flesh, thank the universe. Cade was crouched near the fire, turning strips of meat on a flat rock. He looked like every wilderness survival ad I'd ever mocked. Shirt clinging to broad shoulders, hair damp from river water, face set in that stoic I've seen things look that made people write bad poetry. I sat up, rubbing sleep from my eyes. Morning or apocalypse, hard to tell. He didn't look at me. Eat. I didn't ask for breakfast in bed. Good, you won't get it. I accepted the food anyway. It smelled amazing, which annoyed me. Is this elk? Wolf. I froze mid-bite. His mouth twitched. Kidding. Venison. I glared at him. Dark humor. Cute. You and I might actually be soulmates. Don't say that word, he said quietly. It has rules. We hiked most of the morning through a maze of ravines and pines so tall they swallowed the sky. I didn't ask where we were going. I just followed him, mostly because getting lost in wolf-infested wilderness seemed like a poor life plan. The silence between us wasn't awkward. It was charged. Every step I took, I could feel his presence. Steady, protective, infuriating. And underneath it all, that faint pulse at my collarbone. The bond, like an invisible leash wrapped around both of us. You keep glaring at me, Cade said without looking back. Something you want to say? Yeah, I said. You walk too fast. You walk too slow. Sorry, some of us aren't half-beast. Quarter, he corrected absently. That made me stumble. Quarter what? He finally glanced over his shoulder, lips curving slightly. Quarter patient. By midday, the path narrowed to a ridge overlooking the valley. From up there, I could see the line of smoke rising miles away, thin, gray, almost beautiful if it didn't mean danger. Hunters? I asked. Cade nodded. Burning cover. Forcing us out. Do you ever get used to being hunted? His eyes softened for the briefest moment. No, you just get better at pretending it doesn't matter. Something in me cracked a little. I didn't want to feel sorry for him. He'd bitten me, dragged me into this mess. But empathy is a disease, and apparently I was terminal. So, I said, desperate to fill the silence, when this is all over, what happens? I just go home? If you still have one, he said. Thanks for the optimism. I'm realistic. You're a buzzkill. He looked over, expression unreadable. You're alive. Buzz maintained by late afternoon. We stopped by a creek to rest. I crouched by the water, splashing my face, trying to scrub away the exhaustion and whatever faint trace of his scent clung to me. Cade watched from a few feet away, arms crossed. Don't wash the mark. I wasn't planning on exfoliating my jugular, thanks. He didn't smile. You weaken it, they'll smell you again. I rolled my eyes. Maybe I want to be smelled. His gaze flicked up sharply, and for half a second the air between us snapped. It wasn't anger this time. It was heat. Raw, inconvenient, wildly inappropriate heat. You don't, he said, voice lower than before. How would you know? Because I can smell you too. My breath hitched. Cade. He blinked, as if realizing what he'd said, and stepped back. You should eat. I tried to pretend nothing happened. I failed miserably. The rest of the evening was torture. Every time he got too close, my skin buzzed. Every time he looked away, I wanted him to look back. It was infuriating. I wasn't supposed to want the man who bit me to save his pack. I was supposed to despise him, get free, maybe write a tell-all book about it later. Instead, I was memorizing the way the scar under his jaw caught the last light of the setting sun. We made camp in a hollow beneath a cliff. The air smelled like moss and cold stone. Ray and a few others joined us, silent, efficient, clearly uncomfortable with my existence. I didn't blame them. I was the reason they were running. As night fell, Cade ordered double perimeter watches. I lay near the fire, half asleep, trying to ignore the whisper of wind and the faint echo of growls carried through the trees. Then someone touched my shoulder. I startled, then saw him crouched beside me, his expression unreadable in the dim firelight. Can't sleep? He asked. Hard to nap when you might wake up as a chew toy. He actually smiled, barely. You're safe here. That's what people say right before they die in horror movies. Then I'll say it louder. Silence stretched between us again, softer this time. I should have looked away. I didn't. The firelight turned his eyes molten silver. "Why do you always stare like that?" I asked. "Like what?" "Like you're trying to solve me." "Maybe I am. Good luck." "I'm unsolvable. Like Sudoku with commitment issues." He huffed a laugh, low and rough. "You keep using humor to hide fear. You keep using brooding to hide feelings. Maybe we're both bad at pretending." For a moment it was just that. Shared breath, shared danger, and something sparking under my skin that had nothing to do with fear. Then he leaned closer, so close that the world narrowed to the sound of the fire and the rush of my pulse. 10 days, he whispered. "You keep looking at me like that, it's going to feel a lot longer." I swallowed hard. That a threat? A warning. I turned away, forcing a laugh. "Relax. I don't do relationships with men who could eat me." "Good," he said, settling beside the fire. "Because I don't do relationships with women who could ruin me." His words landed harder than I wanted them to, because I wasn't sure which one of us he was trying to convince. Later, when the camp went quiet, I watched him from across the fire. His body coiled in half-sleep, every sense alert even at rest. And for reasons I couldn't name, I felt safe. Not like I trusted him, but like the universe was giving me a temporary ceasefire from chaos. I fell asleep to the sound of him breathing, and for the first time since the night I ran, I didn't dream of blood. Tell me, would you trust a man who could kill you with one hand but cooks you breakfast instead? Because I'm either falling for him or falling for Stockholm Syndrome. Either way, wish me luck. We made camp in a hollow beneath a cliff. The air smelled like moss and cold stone. Ray and a few others joined us, silent, efficient, clearly uncomfortable with my existence. I didn't blame them. I was the reason they were running. As night fell, Cade ordered double perimeter watches. I lay near the fire, half asleep, trying to ignore the whisper of wind and the faint echo of growls carried through the trees. Then someone touched my shoulder. I startled, then saw him crouched beside me, his expression unreadable in the dim firelight. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "Hard to nap when you might wake up as a chew toy." He actually smiled, barely. "You're safe here." That's what people say right before they die in horror movies. Then I'll say it louder. Silence stretched between us again, softer this time. I should have looked away. I didn't. The firelight turned his eyes molten silver. "Why do you always stare like that?" I asked. "Like what?" "Like you're trying to solve me." "Maybe I am. Good luck." "I'm unsolvable. Like Sudoku with commitment issues." He huffed a laugh, low and rough. "You keep using humor to hide fear. You keep using brooding to hide feelings. Maybe we're both bad at pretending." For a moment it was just that. Shared breath, shared danger, and something sparking under my skin that had nothing to do with fear. Then he leaned closer, so close that the world narrowed to the sound of the fire and the rush of my pulse. 10 days, he whispered. "You keep looking at me like that, it's going to feel a lot longer." I swallowed hard. That a threat? A warning. I turned away, forcing a laugh. "Relax. I don't do relationships with men who could eat me." "Good," he said, settling beside the fire. "Because I don't do relationships with women who could ruin me." His words landed harder than I wanted them to, because I wasn't sure which one of us he was trying to convince. Later, when the camp went quiet, I watched him from across the fire. His body coiled in half-sleep, every sense alert even at rest. And for reasons I couldn't name, I felt safe. Not like I trusted him, but like the universe was giving me a temporary ceasefire from chaos. I fell asleep to the sound of him breathing, and for the first time since the night I ran, I didn't dream of blood. Tell me, would you trust a man who could kill you with one hand but cooks you breakfast instead? Because I'm either falling for him or falling for Stockholm Syndrome. Either way, wish me luck. Chapter 5. The Girl with Wolf Blood. I woke before dawn to the sound of a single gunshot and Cade's voice, sharp and clipped. Up, now. For one heart-stopping second, I thought we were under attack again. Then I saw Cal hauling a small silver device out of the dirt near the fire. Something round, blinking faintly. "What is that?" I asked, still tangled in my blanket. "Beacon," Cade said. "Hunter tech." "They're closing in faster than expected." Of course they were, because I had the kind of luck you could bottle and sell to villains. We broke camp in minutes, no breakfast, no banter, just running, again. The forest blurred around us, pines streaking by like spears. The ground was slick, the air sharp. At one point I stumbled, catching myself on a tree. Cade was instantly there, hand steadying me. "Keep moving," he said. "Not all of us are built for parkour, Thorn." He didn't answer, just gripped my hand tighter and pulled me forward. And damn it, I let him. By mid-morning, we'd reached a hidden ravine where the trees thinned, revealing a cave mouth barely visible beneath a curtain of moss. Ray went in first, scanning for traps, or monsters, I wasn't sure which. Inside, the air was cold and damp, but safe. The walls glimmered faintly with veins of quartz, catching the stray shafts of light like silver veins. I dropped onto a rock, gasping. "So what now?" "We start a subterranean commune?" Cade didn't laugh. "We hide until sunset. Then we move again." "Great," I muttered. "I've always wanted to cosplay a fugitive." Ray handed me a flask of water, then glanced at Cade. "You should tell her," she said quietly. "Tell me what?" I asked. Cade's jaw flexed. "Not now." "Yes, now," I said, standing. "I've been bitten, branded, hunted, and dragged across 3 mountain ridges. I think I deserve a memo." He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "You're adapting too fast. The bond shouldn't be this strong. You should still smell human, but you don't." "That's vague." "Be less cryptic." Ray hesitated, then said, "Your scent shifted overnight." "Half human, half wolf," I blinked. "That's not possible." "I'm human. My parents were normal. My mom was an accountant. My dad sold fishing gear." "Your father's name?" Cade asked. "Michael Grayson." Cade went still. Ray's eyes widened. "What?" I demanded. Cade's voice dropped, quiet and deadly serious. "Michael Grayson was a field operative for the Hunter Syndicate 20 years ago. He wasn't human, Lila. He was a defector, half-shifter." I stared at him. "You're lying." Ray shook her head. "No, the name was in our archives. He vanished after the fall of the North Ridge Pack." My chest felt tight, like someone had wrapped it in barbed wire. "So what? You're saying my dad was a, spy wolf?" "Secret agent with fur?" Cade met my gaze. "I'm saying the hunters didn't find you by accident. They tracked his bloodline. You're the last piece I wanted to laugh. I wanted to scream. Mostly I wanted to throw up." "My whole life," I whispered. "He told me my nightmares were just dreams." He said the dark wasn't real. Cade's tone softened. "He was protecting you. He hid what you were to keep you off their radar. It worked, until now I paced the length of the cave, heart pounding. You're telling me I'm part wolf." "That's insane, is it?" he asked, stepping closer. "You've survived silver exposure twice. Your senses are sharper. Your body's syncing with a pack bond faster than any humans could. You think that's coincidence?" I backed up until my shoulder hit cold stone. "You're wrong." He didn't move closer, but his voice dropped to a low rumble that made the cave seem smaller. "You can deny it all you want, Lila. But your blood knows the truth." For a long moment, the only sound was the river echoing somewhere deep in the cavern. Then, because panic makes me mean, I said, "So what? You bite me, ruin my life, and now I'm supposed to thank you for finding my inner wolf?" He frowned. "I didn't bite you to ruin you." "Really?" "Because it's been going great so far. I bit you to save you." "Well, congratulations," I said, voice cracking. "You saved me right into an identity crisis." I turned to walk away, but his hand shot out, fingers curling around my wrist. Not hard, just enough to stop me. "Lila," he said quietly, "you can hate me all you want, But the hunters will use this. They kill hybrids first. Why? Because mixed blood threatens their order. Wolves fear what they can't control. Humans destroy what they don't understand. You're both. I stared at him. So what, I'm a walking apocalypse? He let go of my wrist slowly. You might be the end of one. The air in the cave grew heavy. Something inside me hummed, deep, low, like a second heartbeat under my skin. I could smell the river outside, the earth, him. Every sense sharpened until I thought I'd break. Cade, I whispered. What's happening? He moved closer, eyes dark with concern, or maybe awe. You're waking up. Before I could ask what he meant, the sound of footsteps echoed from the tunnel mouth. Alpha, Cal's voice rang out. They found us. Cade's expression shifted from gentle to lethal in a heartbeat. Get behind me. I didn't argue, not this time. The first hunter through the trees fired before he cleared the opening. The bullet sparked off stone inches from my head. I screamed and hit the ground. Cade was already moving, snarling, shifting in a blur of gray and muscle that defied logic. One heartbeat, he was a man. The next, something else. Fur rippled down his arms. His teeth flashed, and his roar shook the cave. Ray grabbed me by the collar, dragging me deeper into the shadows. Stay down. I didn't want to look. I did anyway. Cade was a storm, fast, brutal, unstoppable. The hunters didn't stand a chance. But one of them, tall, blonde, calm, didn't raise his weapon. He just looked at me. When his visor tilted up, I saw his face, and my stomach dropped, because it wasn't a stranger. It was my father. He lowered the gun, his voice eerily calm. Lila. The world tilted. No, you're dead, you— Not dead, he said, hiding, protecting you. Until you forced my hand, Cade turned, half-shifted, blood dripping from his claws. You, he growled. You led them here. My father's eyes flicked to him, then back to me. You're marked, he said quietly. He claimed you. It's not what it looks like, I started, but he raised his gun, pointing it straight at Cade. Then unclaim her. Cade snarled, stepping between us. Not a chance. Then you'll die with her. Everything exploded at once. Sound, light, motion. Ray screamed something I couldn't hear. The ceiling cracked. Dust rained down. And in the chaos, my father fired. I didn't think. I just moved. Straight into the line of fire. Pain flared white-hot through my side as the bullet tore across my ribs. Cade caught me before I hit the ground, his eyes wide, furious, terrified. Why, he rasped. Would you do that? Bad. Timing, I gasped, blood filling my mouth. Inherited it from you wolves, apparently. His hand pressed over the wound. Heat flared where he touched me. Too hot, too bright. The pain dulled, replaced by something fierce and electric. When I blinked, the edges of my vision shimmered silver, and somewhere in my chest, something shifted. My father's voice broke through the ringing in my ears. It's happening! I told you, she's not human anymore. Cade looked down at me, jaw clenched. Stay with me. I wanted to say something sarcastic, something brave, but all I managed was, I told you I hate mornings. And then everything went black. Chapter 6. Half wolf, half trouble. When consciousness finally crawled back, it came with the taste of blood and metal. The world was too bright, every sound sharp enough to cut. I tried to move, but my body felt wrong, heavy, humming, like something electric was coiled under my skin. Don't, a voice said softly. You'll tear the stitches. Ray. She was perched on the edge of the cot, eyes shadowed and exhausted. Her hands were steady as she brushed damp hair off my forehead. Where? My throat was raw. Where are we? The den, she said, deep under the western ridge. Hunters won't find this place easily. I tried to sit up. Bad idea. Fire raced through my ribs. Ray pushed me back down gently. You took a bullet meant for an alpha, and you lived. Barely, I forced a laugh that came out more like a cough. So, we're counting that as a win? Her lips twitched. It's more than most get. When she left, I stared at the ceiling, carved stone laced with roots. The air smelled like pine sap, smoke, and faintly of him. Cade. And then I remembered everything. The fight, the bullet, my father's face. I squeezed my eyes shut. I really need a refund on this week. The door creaked open. I didn't need to look to know it was him. His presence filled the room before he spoke. You heal fast, he said. I turned my head. You bite fast. He huffed something that might have been a laugh if he hadn't looked like he hadn't slept in a decade. You scared the hell out of me, Grayson. I blinked. Wait. Did you just admit to having emotions? Regret isn't an emotion, he said dryly. It's a symptom. Of? Caring. That shut me up faster than any sedative could have. He pulled a stool closer, sitting beside the cot. The silence between us wasn't angry anymore. It was something heavier. Your father's alive, I said finally. He nodded. We captured him. He's being held 2 levels down. Held? I frowned. You mean imprisoned. He led the hunters to us, Lila. Because of me. Yes. I stared at the floor. So, what happens now? He hesitated. Now, we find out what you are. I barked a laugh. Oh, great. Identity crisis. Round 2. He studied me for a long moment. You haven't noticed? Noticed what? Cade stood and reached for something on the table beside him. A small mirror, cracked but intact. He handed it to me. I frowned, holding it up, and froze. My eyes, they weren't brown anymore. They shimmered silver, faint but undeniable, the same color as his. Oh no, I whispered. Oh hell no. It's starting, he said quietly. The shift. I stared at my reflection, heart hammering. I can't. He crouched beside me. Breathe. You don't get it, Cade. I'm not built for this. I faint at needles. Then don't faint, he said simply. You're terrible at comfort. I'm not trying to comfort you. Clearly. He smiled then, small, sharp, real. I'm trying to keep you alive. For a while, neither of us spoke. I watched the faint glow in my irises flicker and fade like candlelight. Will it stop? I asked. Maybe. If you fight it, and if I don't. His jaw tightened. Then the pack will see you as a threat. Threat? Hybrids don't survive long here, Lila. Too unpredictable. Too powerful, I laughed bitterly. Wow, that's reassuring. I'll protect you, he said. I looked up at him. Even from your own people? His eyes held mine. Especially from them. Something in my chest loosened. I wanted to believe him. God, I did. But the mark between us pulsed, and I couldn't tell if it was trust or danger that burned hotter. What about Mason? I asked quietly. Still in chains, Cade said. He's begging to see you. Let him rot. Cade tilted his head. You don't mean that. I do. I swallowed hard. He lied to me, used me, and now my entire life is gone because I tried to get revenge. Maybe not gone, Cade said softly. Maybe just different. He stood, pacing the small space, his hands restless. The hunters will regroup. Your father knows what you are now. They'll come for you again. Then what? Then we make sure they don't get the chance. His tone was calm, but his eyes were a storm. You're planning something, I said. He met my gaze. I'm planning to end this. The door banged open. Cal's voice filled the room. Alpha, they've breached the lower tunnels. Hunters, 5 at least, Cade swore under his breath. Get her out through the north exit. Cal hesitated. And the prisoner? Cade's expression went cold. If he moves, kill him. Before I could protest, Cade grabbed my hand and pulled me up. Pain lanced through my side, but his grip steadied me. Can you walk? I can run, I said, but only if you stop acting like a brooding superhero. He almost smiled. Deal. We ran again, because apparently that was my new cardio routine. The tunnels echoed with gunfire and growls, the air filled with dust and smoke. Halfway through a passage, I heard a voice behind us, familiar, desperate. "Lila!" My father, Cade, tensed. "Don't stop!" But I did. I turned, heart slamming in my chest. He was there, limping, a gun dangling from his hand. "Please," he said, "come with me." "They'll destroy you. She's not going anywhere with you," Cade growled. "You don't understand," my father shouted. "She's not just hybrid, she's the key." The moon's blood runs in her veins. The last true line, Cade froze. "That's not possible." My father's eyes burned. "You think fate doesn't play favorites? Look at her. She's the weapon they've been waiting for." "I'm right here," I snapped. "Maybe ask me before you call me a weapon." But neither of them was listening. Cade shoved me behind him, his voice low. "Get out of here. What about go?" The look in his eyes was pure command, and for the first time I didn't want to fight it. I turned and ran. The tunnel split, light spilling from one end. I reached it, lungs burning, when the sound of a gunshot echoed behind me. I stopped, turned. Cade stood over my father's body, smoke curling from the barrel of his gun. For a long moment everything was silent. Then he looked at me, haunted, furious, broken. "He aimed for you," he said. "I didn't have a choice." I wanted to scream, to run, to hit him, but all I could do was whisper, "You always have a choice." He took a step toward me. I took one back. "Lila, don't," my voice cracked. "Just don't." I turned and walked into the cold night, the moon rising above the ridge, full, bright, and merciless. And somewhere deep inside me, something ancient stirred. Epilogue. The bite and the choice. 3 weeks after the night the tunnels burned, the mountains were quiet again. The kind of quiet that feels temporary, like the pause between lightning and thunder. I stood at the edge of the ridge, boots sinking into damp moss, watching the valley breathe below me. Smoke still rose in thin gray ribbons where the hunter camps used to be. Cade had kept his word. He'd ended it, but he'd done it in blood. My father was gone, the hunters scattered, the pack was rebuilding. And me? I was somewhere between human and wolf, heart and scar. The mark on my collarbone had faded to a pale crescent, faint as a memory. But when the wind shifted, I could still feel him. Cade. He was behind me now, I could tell, even before he spoke. "You shouldn't be out here alone." I didn't turn. "I'm harder to kill than I look." "I've noticed." We stood there in silence for a moment, the forest whispering around us. Then I said, "You killed him." His answer was simple. "He tried to kill you." "I know." And I hated that it didn't make me feel better. He stepped closer, his reflection catching faintly in the sheen of moonlight on my eyes. "You're changing," he said. "Faster every day." "Yeah," I said. "Turns out trauma's a great catalyst." A ghost of a smile touched his mouth. "Ray says your vitals are stabilizing. The wolf in you isn't fighting the human anymore." "Good," I said softly. "Maybe I'll finally figure out who the hell I am." He hesitated. "Do you want to?" "What's that supposed to mean?" "Sometimes," he said, "the only way to know who you are is to let the old version die." I turned to face him. "You'd know all about that, wouldn't you?" He met my eyes without flinching. "I had to let go of what I was before I could lead. Maybe you have to do the same before you can live." The wind carried the scent of rain and pine and something darker. The moon hung low, full again, silver bright. "When this started," I said, "I wanted revenge. For Mason, for being lied to, for being small. I thought if I made someone pay, I'd feel powerful." "And now?" he asked. "I just want peace," I said. "But peace and wolves don't mix, do they?" "Sometimes they do," he said quietly, "if they find the right pack." "Don't start with the metaphors," I warned. "I'm fragile." He smiled, barely. You're the least fragile person I've ever met." I should have walked away. I'd told myself a dozen times that this bond between us was temporary. 10 days, 1 mark, no strings. But fate has a twisted sense of humor. When he reached out and brushed his thumb against the faded mark on my skin, my breath hitched. The pulse that had haunted me for weeks flared back to life. Steady, real, his. "It never broke," I whispered. "No," he said. "It never will unless you break it." And then, softer, "Do you want to?" Every rational thought screamed yes. But the ache in my chest, the part that had stopped feeling human the moment I saw the truth in his eyes, whispered no. "I don't know," I said honestly. "Then don't decide tonight." He stepped back, giving me space, giving me choice. That's how I knew I could trust him, because for once no one was taking anything from me. The decision was mine. I looked out over the valley one last time. The pack would rebuild, the hunters would regroup. The war wasn't over, not really, but neither was I. "I'm not your responsibility anymore," I said. He inclined his head. "No, you're something else entirely." "What's that?" He smiled faintly. "Trouble." The moon broke through the clouds, lighting the scar on my collarbone like a promise. Somewhere deep in my chest, the wolf inside me stirred. Not angry, not afraid, just awake. Maybe I'd never be fully human again. Maybe I didn't want to be, because for the first time in my life, I wasn't running from what I was. I was running with it. So tell me, if the person who ruined your life became the one who saved it, would you stay, or walk away before the moon claimed you too? Because me? I'm not sure if I lost a wolf, or finally found the one who matched mine.